Welcome to the Good Place Marionville podcast, dedicated to highlighting the good right here in Marionville, Missouri. Let's set up today's show just a little bit. Have you ever thought about how things are done in Marionville? How do all the decisions get made and who carries out the process? Yes, we have a couple of city employees, but the direction of our town isn't up to the employees. In reality, the huge responsibility falls on our alderman.
So if you look it up online, you will find a definition pretty close to this that says aldermen spend time meeting and answering questions of the citizens. Aldermen are elected to serve the citizens of their ward and often are asked to meet with their constituents. They attend all board meetings and vote on items as they appear on the agenda and are presented by city staff.
In Marionville, we have 6 aldermen, 2 from each ward, and on April the 8th, in the general election, 1 from each ward is up for re-election. Now, as far as we know, no one is running against the 3 aldermen that are running for re-election. So today's conversation is not about who to vote for, but rather helping you get to know another of your aldermen. Kevin Bliss from Ward 2. You're actually Ward 1.
Oh, I said it wrong.
Yeah,
sorry.
Kevin Bliss from Ward 1.
I knew that.
Right here in downtown Marionville. Welcome to the podcast, Kevin.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Oh, we are so grateful.
It's about time.
It's about time. You know what? You're a busy man, hard to schedule. Let's be honest.
It gets tough to drive into Springfield every day for 30 years to have time after work.
Thank you for coming after work today in order to make this possible. So I want to spend a few minutes with you, really just getting to know you better, of course, out here in the public for everybody to hear. So tell us a little bit about your family, who you're married to, how long you've been married, all those good things.
Well, I'm married to Kris Bliss. She's a captain over at the detectives over in Aurora in Marionville Police Department.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been there about 20 years now. And we had met in 2010 and got married in 2011 or 17. Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's a lot of dates.
Well, everybody, what took so long for you to pop the question? I just wanted to make sure it'd stick, I guess. But
that it would stick, that she'd stick around with you. We know, Kevin.
We're coming up on 10 years of marriage. So, and she had 2 sons that, are my stepsons, and they're Kobe and Kyle, but they're grown and out of the house and doing their own thing. Kobe lives in Miller and Kyle lives in Springfield, so they got their prospective girlfriends and stuff like that. So they're out,
That's
free
awesome.
to be. We're home with the bulldog and 2 cats.
So contrary to what people think, as an alderman, you don't get rich off of that job.
I get zero.
You get, what is it?
Zero.
So
a whole lot of zero.
You don't even get $1. You get zero.
You get headaches.
So headaches are free. Now, if you could sell headaches and sell frustration, you could make some money.
Yeah.
So what do you do for your full-time job in order to support your alderman hat?
I work for AT&T. I worked there since 96. And started in Nixa and kind of do customer service. And the last 5 years, I switched over to where I'm a construction side of it, where I do cable fiber splicing.
Okay.
So fiber network is.
You're actually doing the splicing?
Yeah.
So how do you take those million wires and get them to connect with each other? I mean, how do you get that?
It's like they're tiny hairs, basically the size of the hairs, and they're just kind of lightning bolts, kind of put them together in this machine.
Wow.
You can splice one at a time, or 12 or 48 at a time. It depends on what kind of equipment you have.
But you're not having to do that out in the ditches. You're in a controlled environment.
Well, sometimes it depends what the situation is. Yes, sometime in the ditches, literally.
Wow. Okay. So now we know what you do, who you're married to, what she does.
Yeah.
And so if you and Krissa have a day off together, what is something you would do? How would you spend your day?
Well, it just depends. A lot of times, one week we might have to go to Springfield and, get groceries and supplies, or we'll just go have a date night and go eat sushi or something like that.
Where do you go for sushi? What's your favorite place to go for sushi?
Mikado sometimes. It just depends. We'll pick any, try some new stuff or whatever.
Okay. And I know you guys also really like old things and finding vintage things.
Yes. We
recently.
Just
like Krissa married you.
Well, that's what she says. She goes,
she likes vintage things.
She's like, well, my dad used to call it commodities, but she doesn't let me collect commodities unless it's something really unique, then I get to keep it. But we, we go to a lot of museums and stuff, and we like to travel and go to older towns, and places like Savannah, Georgia is really unique if you ever been there. And we just recently went up to St. Joe. I finally got her up there to do the Pony Express Museum. I know it wasn't one of her highlights of her life, but
But it was on your bucket list,
yeah,
maybe?
we drive around town usually and try to look at, kind of the houses that we have here, but the real big mansions
Yeah.
from the 1800s and that
Awesome.
kind of stuff. So
Now, we've seen you walking around town with your dog. What's your dog's name? And what kind of dog is it? It's a bulldog.
it's a bulldog, and his name is Louie.
Louie. So if
Yeah.
you see you walking around
Louie.
town, we know you're with
Yeah,
Louie.
he doesn't walk too far. Kind of like an old man with asthma. So, and I think that my wife loves bulldogs, so that's partially why she married me because I kind of droopy like a bulldog.
Oh,
So,
that's hilarious.
Oh.
Okay.
She
so
never said that to you.
many times.
I'm guessing she's not one that holds back a whole lot. I don't know.
She's been subdued over the years. As you get older, you either go crotchety or you kind of mellow out. So she's mellowed out a little
I haven't
bit.
decided what I'm going to do yet.
That you haven't decided.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So how long have you guys lived in Marionville?
I have lived here. I was actually born in Aurora Hospital.
Okay.
I lived in Crane until the first grade. Then I moved here the starting of second grade and been here ever since.
No kidding.
Great.
Wow.
Awesome. Okay, so tell us about your house because it's kind of cool. I mean, I haven't been invited inside yet, but it's not your ordinary, typical run-of-the-mill
Right.
house in Marionville.
Yeah, it was built to be a lumber yard, and there used to be dry docks all around the interior of the yard and there used to be a street that ran through the yard where the trucks pulled up and pulled the lumber out from the dry docks and that. And also it was built by the Coleman brothers
Okay.
that were prominent in this town that
Mhm.
own a house over on Mill Street and a couple on Central Street. So the guys that kind of built the town had that business, and they also had fired red bricks and stuff. And so many of the bricks that built this town they had a business in Aurora that
Very cool.
fired bricks.
Now,
But-
our background is fake, but we have a lot of red bricks in this building. So I just wonder if there's,
Well, that
any of
building has a
yours.
lot of walls that look just like this.
Yes,
but-
they
yeah,
do.
it's been as you guys know, these old bricks kind of been a struggle. They're either dried out or they're all right or half and half, but there's kind of a struggle to build with sometimes. You uncover the plaster and you're like, put the plaster back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now I know Chris has said you guys even have some original lumber still in your barns.
Yeah, we have stuff that was left there. When I was tearing out the floor of the house, I found they had just had rocks in there that was shimmied up the floor joist, and there was a little wedge underneath one of the joists that said Coleman Lumber Company, and it was stamped on there. So I was like, well, that's been there since the 1870s. And I have become to good friends with Link Coleman, which he's the great grandson or great grandson of Lincoln Coleman that has the house on Mill Street, that big yellow
Wow.
Okay.
score. So,
Cool.
and he lives in Shreveport, and so I ended up giving that to him, and he framed it.
Oh,
And it was his
neat.
great grandfather's, business and everything. So, but I didn't really find any treasures or anything when I took it apart.
Yeah.
But a lot of history.
Yes, yeah.
We kept hoping every time we ran into something, either here at the old library that we've redone, or at the gathering, which is the old Trail of Tears studio.
Right, yeah.
It used to be the old Solid Surface. Kept thinking under one corner we'd find some we did find some cool stuff, but no treasures.
No, I found a lot of medicinal bottles.
Yes.
I have
Yeah.
a couple from the Marionville pharmacy from downtown.
Yeah, that kind.
Medicinal bottle. Back when they sold cocaine in bottles and said,
Right.
drink
Well,
that.
and I
that's
have,
medicine."
yeah, and have a couple actually interesting whiskey bottles that were under there too, big
Wow.
jugs.
Found one intact one next door at the gathering. All right. So what made you decide to become an alderman in the city here?
Well, I came down and attended meetings because my wife periodically they'd have the police officers come down there just in case stuff breaks out. But
Is that why she's there? I thought she was there to give reports.
No, they're waiting on somebody to make a move so they could take him down. But I started attending meetings there, and Doris Rapp at the time was, on the board. She wasn't the mayor anymore, and so, me and my wife and her get along really well, and so she wanted to step down because her husband passed away, and she had grandkids that she wanted to visit and attend. So she asked me to take her place, and they said okay. And so I took her place. Then that was for almost the full term, like a year and a half. Then I ran again this last time. So
Very good.
So you've been an alderman for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I thought, yeah, it's kind of cool. And I just kind of get what the inner workings,
Yes.
because when you're a kid, you're like, you don't think about anything like that.
No, stuff just happens.
You just
right?
see all the adults arguing about stuff, and you're like, well, you get on your bike and leave and go someplace else,
Okay, so this is the Good Place Marionville podcast. So what do you feel like is one of your greatest accomplishments so far in your role as alderman?
I don't know if I think talking them into finally committing to putting money towards sidewalks. I know that sounds silly, but I go to Clever or other towns, it just makes it look better. Whether anybody ever walks on them or not, the curb appeal, if you're driving in there, look at the nice sidewalks or whatever. It's just a curb appeal. And I think that'd be something, people want to, have a place that has a store and this, that, and the other, but some people don't, but they would like to have a town that looks nicer. It's not going to be like that all over town, but finally to get them to commit, say, hey, just continuously say, what about the sidewalks? What about the sidewalks? Then you have to bring the safety and the children walking from the school to the football field, the band, say, hey, let's do that. And then you see the summer school kids walking to the park, in the summers, but half the time they're walking on the road.
Okay, so what about the sidewalks? Tell everybody just like where that's at, because they're like, what is happening?
Well, we want to start out there on Odell and go all the way up to maybe Chicago, the street, let's see, that'd be east side of the football fields on, and maybe up to that point, and maybe come down College Street past the Methodist Manor, because there is some existing sidewalks there, so it'd make it easier. Down to Washington, then veer off to the library, then veer to the park.
Right.
Start out. I mean, I understand that's a long ways, but if you have none, let's get some.
Well, a lot of people have said, but there are sidewalks out there. There's old cobblestone sidewalks that are out there all over the place.
Well, the thing about it is the city is not going to pay for that.
Right. And they're not handicapped technically, right? Because
but they're there. And if the person that lives in the house wants to maintain that, they've had the chance. And if people's done it, but not everybody.
And if you're not sure, if you have a cobblestone sidewalk in front of your house, go take a metal stick out there and try to poke in the ground and see if you have one and uncover it, because boy, they sure are beautiful. The people that have uncovered them. Yeah,
and I think most of the ones are probably down Central and across Odell and like Mill Street.
Right.
They're not all over town like some places, but there's a few streets that do have them, and trees, the roots, tear them up. I mean, it's a lot of work to put them back.
But as far as the sidewalks, slow and steady wins the race. And so this is going to be a long haul, but there is some progress being made in that area. But we don't have a lot of, reserves, to put towards that. So the reality is, there's a lot that goes into any of those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I'd finally get them to commit, say, hey, we are going to do sidewalks. There's a lot of construction play. I know people donate their time or their money, and a lot of people don't want to, but I would like to see somebody that lived here or did live here or does live here. They have construction companies. I mean, we're not asking for a whole lot. I mean, just a little bit. Donate 10 feet of sidewalk or something to that effect. It'll finally get somewhere.
This sidewalk sponsored by so-and-so.
We could do that.
Like the highway signs, but just the sidewalk sign.
And every one of them will say, hey, this section of sidewalk is
We're full of ideas, right? Even here on the show.
But accomplishments, like I said, I mean, you heard it. I'm not going to say yes to everything, but I'm going to say yes to 90% of the things, because, like I said, I've never really seen anything change or advance. There's been a few buildings come in and there, but there's been a lot of buildings that have went away over the years. We used to have a big barbecue joint over there across from where the B&G Dairy Crest was, but that burnt down many, many years ago, and places that changed, and the pharmacies changed places from downtown out to the highway. But basically the whole structure of the town's stayed the same. There never really has been any, since I was really, really little action downtown. It used to be the shoe factory and the garment factory and then Alpine, then the pool table place that I forget the name of the pool table place, but
DJ Bailey.
Bailey, that's right. They've all moved
Out of town.
right at the edge of town, where it doesn't benefit. I mean, people work there, but it doesn't benefit. What?
It doesn't help pay for the sidewalks.
Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, because really the revenue we live off on as a city comes from sales tax. So retail revenue is key to our city.
Yeah.
All right, this is your chance to talk to the citizens of Marionville before we cover some more good news. Is there anything you want them to make sure they hear from you?
No, I mean, I haven't walked around. Usually I walk around to try to get to every house in Ward 1 and let them know, who I am. I did that the last time I ran. I didn't get to see everybody, but a good percentage of the people. And I found out that, hey, there's a lot of people that live here in Marionville like yourselves that just moved here from Chicago or wherever. So, I mean, there's a chance to, a first impression of somebody that you've never met. Just, I think, getting out and just introducing yourself, whether they like you or not. At least I came out and said, hey, I'm the guy that's going to be running this, that, or other, whether I have any kind of power. I just kind of vote and use my own judgment. And there's some kind of things that, you're just you vote yes, but you're the one person voting yes on something when there's 5 or 6 other no's. It really doesn't carry much weight.
It still carries weight, but we appreciate you're definitely a guy that wants to see our city expand.
Yeah, and I don't see. I mean, I love my deal is old buildings, old houses. I'd love to rummage through every old building and house around here, but I mean, there has to be progress. New people have to move in. The people that are here, me and you, and we're all going to pass away, and it's going to be handed down to somebody else. So it's going to be something that somebody wants to carry on.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate you being an alderman. Thank you for taking the time to volunteer and to help with the leadership of our town, because I know it's no small task.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into it. And I think we need to make ourselves be a lot more expressive about how appreciative we are for the alderman and our mayor and those that are running our town. So I'm going to have you hang on. We've got a few more things that we're going to discuss in the good news, but thank you for sharing a little bit and letting us get to know you a little bit.
Well, and for those of you that are wondering, you've been watching this podcast since we started. This is our 42nd episode. We've had 2 aldermen on. They've both been from Ward 1. But invites have been extended to every alderman. So encourage your local alderman to come on to the podcast. Actually, we had Kathy Urschel.
They might be a little shy. That's okay. We understand.
So that people in the city can get to know.
Can I say just one more thing?
Of course.
I mean, people, if you wanted to get in contact with me, City Hall has my number, and they've been told to free to hand it out if you have any questions, or I can take your complaints if you don't want to show up at the meetings. I can pass those on, or concerns or anything, but
he could also take your compliments to the meeting.
There you go. Not just
see
the
if
complaints.
So if you want to get in contact with me, just get in contact with City Hall, and
thanks, Kevin.
They'll give the number or relay the message.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. All right. In school news, Greta reported that today there were several high school students attending the 2025 Job Olympics at Branson High School, which is designed to give students with disabilities the opportunity to practice job-related skills that will enhance their lifelong goal of being employed. Students from surrounding districts will be competing in areas such as hospitality, culinary, childcare, department store events, grocery industry, and automotive detail and business events.
Middle school principal Matt Price reported that Monroe, Mais,
yes,
placed 10th out of over 700 shooters in a state archery tournament. This qualifies her for nationals. Excellent job, Monroe.
That's great. The FFA plant sale continues tomorrow, Friday, from 2 to 6 at the greenhouse at the Marionville High School. Plants are selling quickly, so make sure you get up there.
Martha, in some more school news.
What?
Yesterday, the Marionville Lions Club announced a scholarship for seniors graduating this year from Marionville High School. Applications due in to Principal Greg Hopkins, by the 16th of April, and will be voted on by the 23rd of April by the Marionville Lions Club. So the scholarship can be handed out at the scholarship handing out ceremony, and that'll be a $500 scholarship from the Marionville Lions Club. Get your application in and do a good job on it. First responder news, Martha. Big news for Fire Chief and Head of Public Works from Marionville. Kris Bowling and his wife, City, welcomed their baby boy, Bennett, into the family this past weekend. Congratulations to the Bowlings, and pray for a quiet couple of weeks around town while we settle into family life. Can you pray that retroactively? No, but pray it going forward, because we could definitely use some quiet days, because Kris is really missed.
And just a reminder that this Saturday is the White Squirrel 5K Donut Run and the swap meet at Honey Bluffs Shenanigans. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Kevin, I'm curious, have you ever run in the donut run?
This one, no, but I've run in several 5Ks over the years.
Do you like donuts? Well, your wife's a cop, so you have to like donuts, right?
It's, they do like donuts.
Yeah, they do. They do.
I
Yeah.
believe there will be donuts.
There's donuts before the race. Donuts, you can dress like a donut during the race, and there's a donut competition after the race.
All of
That's
the
kind of retroactive, isn't it?
It's crazy.
It is kind of funny. Citywide cleanup scheduled for April 3rd and 4th will be dumpsters at City Hall where residents can bring their items for disposal. Watch the city Facebook page for specific details. And we're looking for volunteers to join the Marionville Business Connect group with people and trailers that might be able to help move items some residents can't do on their own. Kevin, do you have some big items you want to get rid of during citywide cleanup?
There's a few. There's a few things that I tried to give away, but nobody ever came and got them. So
it might be time.
That's right. We're hoping to get some people with trailers to go around and help residents that may be a little too old or just not strong enough, or maybe need an extra set of hands in order to get those things down to the dumpsters downtown.
Alrighty, so that's just next week. As we mentioned earlier, the general election is on April 8th, so remember to vote.
That's right. We are so blessed to have a local community bank like the Bank of Billings right here in Marionville. They're just a pillar in our community and have been for over 135 years.
Member FDIC and equal housing lender. We are grateful to the Bank of Billings for sponsoring the Good Place Marionville podcast. So good news around town is all of the beautiful blooming trees. Man, it just really brightens everything up. Everywhere I go, I see all these blooms. And yes, it also attributes to all of our allergies, but I am so grateful that they're so pretty.
That's right. Watch the Marionville Pride Facebook page for the Curb Appeal Awards, which will be starting up again soon, as well as their recent interview with Donna White, who has served faithfully bringing exchange students to our community for several decades. Kevin, I think your house was nominated once for the Curb Appeal Award.
Yep.
Did you win?
I believe so.
That's awesome.
Oh, very nice.
Last year or 2 years ago.
Okay.
That's awesome. All right. Apple Fest is coming up September 19th and 20th. And currently the committees are busy accepting ads for the booklet, which is quite beautiful, and signing up vendors for booths. So you can visit our website at MarionvilleAppleFest.com to find all the details and the forms that you need. Some of the activities and contests are being refreshed for this year. So stay tuned as we continue to plan an amazing weekend in September. And if you would like to be a part of those plans, send us a note on the website or our Facebook page, and someone will be in touch with you. We'd love to have you join us.
And another Good Place Marionville podcast sponsor, Todd Wright with Alpha Realty. Check him out online at alpharealtymo.com. Todd has a passion for all forms of real estate, whether it's commercial, agriculture, residential. Thanks, Todd, for your work right here in Marionville and for supporting this podcast. We previously mentioned these Easter events, but it's good to highlight them again.
April 12th at 10 a.m. is the citywide Easter egg hunt at the Ozarks Methodist Manor.
Come interact with those local residents. They love to see the kids run around. And on April the 18th at 6 p.m. is the Community Good Friday service hosted at the First United Methodist Church. And a very special thank you, of course, to our guest today, Alderman Kevin Bliss, for joining us for today's show. Any final words for Marionville, Kevin?
Just everybody come out and vote, no matter who you vote for. I think it's a good thing to exercise. I know I didn't think about it when I was younger, but it makes a difference. So just get out and vote in April.
Well, and thank you for serving our community, Kevin.
Yes. Also, thank you to Todd Wright of Alpha Realty and the Bank of Billings for showing their support for the good happening here.
Consider joining them and become a sponsor of a few shows or one show or a quarter or a whole season. You can contact us at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com.
Good news is easy to report. Just send us an email at goodplacemarionville@hotmail.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell for it to notify you when special episodes release.
Thank you for joining us for the Good Place Marionville podcast. Keep your eyes out for the good, and together we could celebrate Marionville.